Leeds United have injury news to report. Junior FIRPO will be out for a sustained period of time. Can we cope with it? I think we'll be okay. But could it have been avoided? That's a whole other question. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Leeds United versus Middlesbrough preview. We're going to be back as well tomorrow, straight after the game for the match reaction. So join me then live. The video is already up. So if you want to press a reminder on it to join me then, and we'll discuss the result after the game. Jayden Bogle also has an injury doubt, and I'm going to get into that also. Please like the video and drop your comments, score predictions below. This is going to be the preview, Danny Farker's press conference reaction, and everything in between. Annabelle in the house saying here, maybe not such a disaster with FIRPO and potentially Bogle out for this game, as Byram and Verba defensively better against Boro wingers. We'll find out. Night saying afternoon KG. Why is my brand gone into the regular YouTube thing? You know what? We're going to leave it for now. We're just going to leave it. But listen, let's get straight into it. And you know what? Daniel Farker's press conference today, there was a few long winding answers today, but I thought it was pretty decent. I thought it was one of the better ones that we've had so far, or shall I say recently. And we got a little bit of info in there. And first of all, let's go on to team news. Sam Byram is back in training and he expects him to be available. Must add as well, he did also say thank God, or close to that, when it comes to Sam Byram being back. So I fully expect Sam Byram to start, and I'll go into my preferred 11 for tomorrow's game as well. And of course, give me yours in the comments below. Junior FIRPO though will be out 4 to 6 weeks with a muscle injury, and it is his hamstring. Some question marks around Jayden Bogle as well. At the moment, it's likely he'll miss the game. It will be a late call. It did come out as well that Jayden Bogle is also a hamstring issue. And for me, that last bit, it will be a late call. Learn from the Junior FIRPO mistake. Learn from previous mistakes, by the way, of what's happened under this management. Don't risk him tomorrow. Don't risk him. Yes, we'll be weaker on that right-hand side without him, because for me, I know Jayden got a few questionable reviews in the last game, but I think he's been really, really solid. And he's someone that I haven't even considered moving out of the right-back spot. We talk about different places, different positions in this team, think, oh, someone else could do better there. There's been no question marks for me over Pascal, Rodon, or Bogle. So it's going to be a blow to miss him for a game, but I would much rather lose him for one game than have another scenario where we're losing him for 4 to 6 weeks. Because I got to say, the whole thing in regards to Junior FIRPO and the decision to start him, that's the killer for me. That is it. And whoever made the decision, which obviously is Daniel Farker, even if Junior FIRPO says I'm good to go, boss, you have to save the players. And I go to the NHL with this. Ice hockey is the perfect example for this. And there's plenty of other sports. But you've got guys that will literally have broken fingers, concussions, saying to their coaches, I'm good to go, coach. And they've had their bell rung. But it's up to you as the manager to say, nah, you can sit this one out. And listen, maybe FIRPO would have had boo-boo face for a day saying, I could have done it. But we could have avoided this, I feel. And now we've lost him for 4 to 6 weeks. And this kind of record has to improve, I've got to say, in terms of players being doubtful for injuries. And then all of a sudden they're out for weeks, or like with Pascal Struck, the rest of the season. It's disappointing. Jorginho last year with the hernia operation, just subpar for the rest of the season, because I don't feel he got the right recovery time. So yeah, it's going to be disappointing, Junior FIRPO being out. And Hyru here saying, if there was ever a time for Schmidt to step up, this is the time. We'll speak about that, Hyru. We will speak about that. Carl here saying, even though FIRPO was injured, I'm surprised Farker didn't leave FIRPO on the pitch and make him hobble around, as he doesn't make subs till the 70-minute. Tremendous. And Mike also with Hyru here. What are the chances we see Schmidt? Really thought he'd have a bigger role to play this season. Just going on in terms of this, and Michael here saying, KG spot on Rutter and Pascal, can't blame Rob Price now. In terms of that, Verba, he did give Verba his due as he deserved. We knew he could play this position. He's done it for club and country. He's a solid defender who closes the wings, has a great mentality, and always puts a shift in. There you go, for the people that love that put a shift in stuff. I think he had a really good performance on Saturday. Yeah. I mean, Popey, I guess Popey probably speaks for maybe the majority, because usually the reporters go by what they're fed back. They don't really go with their own opinions, in my opinion. But he was saying he was surprised what Verba did. I was not surprised. I kind of expect that from Max. Not every game. I don't expect him to be a marauding left back every game or find himself in a 10 position ready to shoot. But I expect him when we've got a lot of the ball in certain games to be in a more attacking position, especially if he's playing left back. And I just hope now he can keep himself fit and cement that left back position for himself. Junior Firpo is probably expected to be back around mid-January. He was asked, Farker was asked if we need to go into the January market to dip into that and get cover. He says unlikely, but obviously it all depends on Junior Firpo's recovery. And as we've seen with Junior Firpo in the past, his recovery time is, not always what it is to be said. Sometimes, we've had it before where he's been out for 2-3 weeks when initially it was only a week or one game. So we'll have to see with Junior Firpo. And I don't think playing him in that game did him any favors at all. But we got to move on from that. People talking about Schmidt here. The fact that he said, pretty much thank God that Sam Byram's back would lead me to believe that Schmidt won't be starting tomorrow night. I'm very interested to see if you guys would start him, but I'm almost at the point now where unless either one of Verbal or Byram's injured, I don't expect Schmidt to be playing. I think he's last on the list of wing backs that we've got, fullbacks that we have here. I don't think Farker fancies him, whether it be stylistically, whether it be training, whatever the issue may be. I don't think that Farker fancies Schmidt as much as I don't, and it just makes you question, doesn't it, with what Angus Kinnear said in the summer. Like they did all their due diligence, make sure these are all players that can help you now, not in 6 months. I wonder what was the missing component when it came to Isaac Schmidt. Was it a case of, Daniel, this is a player that can help you. He's cheap enough, and he's the backup for Junior, so hopefully you won't have to worry about him, but he's got the potential to do well. I wonder what that collaborative effort was when signing Isaac Schmidt, because for me, clearly, this is not a Farker signing. I think it's more to do with the recruitment team. I don't know if it has anything to do with the recruitment changes. That's just me speculating here, but it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Yeah, Max, he did say that. He said he loves his new signings. Yeah, he did say that. And that was, I'm going to go into that in just a bit. That was part of a more conversation. Michael here saying there is a chance for Verba to make a serious claim for that left back spot or central berth should Pascal or Roden pick up injury or suspension. Yeah, I mean, that's what Max is there for in this current setup. He's there to be the backup to Pascal or Joe Roden. That's his position at the club. But you're right, he can easily cement himself at that left back spot. And I said it in a previous video, and I'll stick by it. I feel like he could be not on ability level, again, make it clear, but I feel like he could be like that Josko Garvio for us in terms of what he does for Man City. Gavardio is a centre back by nature, but you've seen him play left back, and the way that he goes forward for Man City, I feel like Verba could do that for us, especially in this poor division. Let's have a look here. Mike here is saying here, maybe he thought Verbal was on the move and Schmidt was the left back replacement. No, I don't think so, Mike, because if you remember, by the time he was asked about this many times when it came to Max Verba, and he said Max is here to stay. That was it. Even during pre-season, he's spoken to Max. Max is ready to fight for his place. Max is ready to, make amends and everything else like that. So I think we knew Max Verba was here to stay. I think it was only, I'll be real with you, Mike. I think it was only the fans that kept on thinking Max Verba was going to leave. I said from a while back, until a club comes in with an absolutely unbelievable offer for both Max and Leeds United, if Danny Farker has said he's spoken to him and he's going to stay, you've got to take that at face value and say he's going to stay. I think it's only the fans that thought, nah, he's going to leave. He's going to leave. And so there was no doubt for me anyway. Danny here saying, oh, yeah, Danny, you've said that before in terms of Schmidt. Yeah. Pat here saying Verba could move in January. I hope not, Pat. I've already, spoken about this before, but I would hope that Verba does stay. Obviously, if we used to be sold to, whether it be Leipzig, Salzburg, whoever, we'd get a good price for him because he is a coveted and very experienced international. But I think just for the depth that we have and the quality and depth that he brings, I would hope that he is here to stay. And you never know, if he performs well enough at that left back spot, especially with the way Junior's been in terms of ill discipline, the injuries, even when Junior comes back, it's not a given to say that he'll even start ahead of Max Verba. It's not. It all depends on how Max adapts, takes hold of that spot and makes it his own, as Louis Walsh once said. You know what I mean? So yeah, hopefully he doesn't get his head turned, but he will have interest. It's already been reported he has interest from Salzburg. There were a couple of clubs in Germany that want him too. So yeah, it's all about if Leeds United can give him game time, because that's the one thing that we can control now. It's giving him game time. Whereas if you're not playing him, even if you're in the top two, it's very hard to say to a player, stay as a backup here when you could be starting in a higher league elsewhere. And it's simple as that. Yeah, Gavin here saying Junior gone in the summer. Yeah, spoke about that as well. Michael here saying Peru, the big one is how he sets up Joao for the game. Pointless asking him to press as a low man up front. Yeah, I mean, Michael, you've been here a long time, and he was kind of asked about Joao Peru in there. I think it was Adam Pope again that asked him in terms of Peru. Have you done anything different with him? Not to go back to the number 10 thing, but you know, Farker said again. I mean, he's changed his tune, but he said he's a striker, but he likes to drop deep. He's quite unique in that way. There's not much they've worked on him. We're not going to make him into a lightning quick center forward now. You know, Joao Peru is what he is. We're trying to improve him in certain aspects, but he's not unhappy with his ratio of goals to starting games, which I agree with. I always say though, if you're not going to get the ball up front to him, and it applies to Joseph as well, it's there's no point having the conversation, people. There's no point, because no one, even in the comments, people keep talking about a number 9. Apart from that one chance Joseph runs through against Burnley and misses, you can't really point out to any other gilt-edged chances that these guys get. And a goal the other night summed it up for me. If you saw the Sheffield United versus West Brom game, which ended 2-2, which is a good result for us, there was a ball from Harrison Burrows that found Tyrese Campbell, near post run, goal. We don't get those kind of balls at Leeds United. Because if we did, I'd be speaking on them a lot more, saying, how is Peru not putting that away? How is Joseph not putting that away? It doesn't get to them. The final ball is usually quite poor. So if we was getting more of those kind of chances available to our forwards, then there's a conversation to be had for me. But at this point, there isn't. It just reminds me so much of the Billy Sharp year. I don't know if anyone remembers this, but when Billy Sharp signed for Leeds United, proven goal scorer at championship level, but we didn't give him no service, and he ended up with like 5 goals. That's not to say he didn't miss chances, but he didn't get the kind of service he was getting at his previous clubs. And that was when we used to have like about 15 central midfielders and no wingers. Remember that era? Absolutely crazy. And when we finally saw like Jimmy Kebe and all these guys, like, ooh, we have a winger. Yeah, dark days, people, dark days. But yeah. So yeah, listen. So there we are. In terms of Max Verber, Sam Byram, Junior FIRPO, that's the latest news on those guys. He was also asked, and it kind of goes into that conversation about loving all your players. Shout out to you, Deshaun, as well. Salute to you, Deshaun. Hope you're well, my man. He was asked about Chris Wilder's comments, because Chris Wilder is playing the mind games. And that's to be expected. He was doing it all up to the run up against us when Sheffield United came to Ellen Road. He was making out like we were like prime Man City and all that. But Wilder, again, after the 2-2 draw against West Brom, talking about Leeds and saying that we're miles ahead of Sheffield United. But, people will say, Sheffield United are top, so why is he saying that? I do get what Chris Wilder is saying, but I also know what he's trying to do. He's trying to take the pressure off him, off his players when they don't get 3 points, turn it to Leeds United, where he knows it's a big old pressure cooker. And I think Daniel Farke handled the question really well. He went through the signings. He was talking about Rothwell. We've got Joe Rothwell in. I mean, I'm not sure how the players took it. Maybe he had to go in after and say, hey, those things I said, I didn't mean them, right? Or I meant it in this context. But he was basically saying, we've got Joe Rothwell here, who couldn't even start at Southampton last season, who got promoted ahead of us. We've got Tanaka in there that so many clubs didn't want and passed over in the second division, and we took a chance on him. Ramazani got relegated from La Liga and everything else like that. He was just going through our squad makeup and just saying, we're not miles ahead, but what we're doing is we're doing the best with what we've got, with the quality that we have. But it's not like we're an unbelievable team and that we are far away from being a Premier League team. And I absolutely love that. I'm glad that he said that, because usually Daniel Farke does play to the passion merchants of the fan base. But that was a really grounding comment that he made in terms of this team is nowhere near the Premier League. And that's what I always try and say to people. I kind of said it in yesterday's video when people saying sign Rothwell permanently or give FIRPO a new contract. The difference between the leagues, people, is just night and day. And you need to watch Premier League football to see it for yourself. And just know, because we're not going to have 60% possession in the Prem. We're not going to have 70% possession in the Prem. It's just not going to happen when we first get promoted. You know what I mean? So yeah, good comments there from Farker in terms of just the squad makeup, and he was talking about the leaving of Jorginho, Crescentio, Somerville, Archie Gray, kind of like what I said on a couple videos ago. I'm going to be real. I kind of said this a couple videos ago. Maybe he's a little bit more aware, but yeah, Jack. He basically said he's working miracles with a bunch of bums. I mean, it almost sounded like that, but I know what he was saying. I absolutely got the context. Also like Sam Byram, he wasn't good enough for Norwich, but now he's here at Leeds United. He was just basically going through and just saying, look, you know, he's trying to say we're miles ahead, but that's not the truth, because they recruited very well in the summer, and he's absolutely correct. Yeah, Callum here saying if keeping us humble and not ahead of ourselves one game at a time. And that's another thing that he was trying to, you know, just, I mean, he said it quite a few times in the press conference. Leeds United, even though we are one of the better teams in the league, got to keep working hard, remain humble, keep ahead of things. And again, he's absolutely correct there. And that's the thing with Danny Farker, man. Sometimes he says things that are just so on the money, but you just wish that his tactical nous just matched what he was saying in it. But yeah, he had a good conference there. I will give him that. I will give him that in terms of that today. But our opponent's Middlesbrough. As you know, we lost against this team in the cup. He was asked about that, but I think he said the right thing. It won't have any bearing on it in terms of the teams that we're going to put out, both us and Middlesbrough, because both teams were heavily rotated for that game. Didn't like the thing again about bringing up Jorginho leaving, so it made the atmosphere somber. Grow up, man. Like, you're professional players. And once again, going back to that thing, when Jorginho left, whether it's the players themselves or their management teams, they were all giving him props on IG and everything else in the comments. So I'm sure there wasn't that many tears. I just felt that that was a poor excuse, and I still feel that at the time. But Middlesbrough, they're a team that you just don't know what you're going to get. But I do respect them in a way, because I do feel like they are a decent team at this level, and you don't know what you're going to get. And just going by these results here, you know, they can beat Sheffield United 1-0 at home, but then get turned over by Coventry 3-0 at home as well. But they can score a goal. You know, 3-3 against Norwich, beat QPR 4-1 away, battered Luton 5-1 at home, put 6 past Oxford. I wish I could see our team doing this one time. I wish. But, you know, then again, Blackburn, you know, a thorn in our side. You know, they beat Middlesbrough, get their lick back against Hull, Burnley 1-1, and then it's us. So with Middlesbrough, you just don't know what you're going to get offered out of them. And what I will say in regards to their team, for me, it's not like they've got like stars or star-studded players, but Ben Doak obviously is a threat. He's going to be one of the main ones, which is why I think it will be good for Max Verber to be there, just for more that defensive side, and he can try and take care of him, contain him. Danny Farker was asked, do you think they're going to come forward, or are they going to sit back? But if you watched the Middlesbrough Burnley game, you saw that Burnley were all over Middlesbrough in the first half, especially. So I feel like they're going to try and counter like many other teams, maybe not as deep as those other teams, but I do feel they're going to put the emphasis on the counter-attacking, and they do have the weapons to do that. Does Latte Laugh start in this one? I don't know. But it seems to be like a rotation thing with him and the other striker, which is quite surprising, as he was really effective last season. One other player I will just point out there is Dijksteel, who's had an amazing turnaround. I remember the one game that we played against them, we absolutely cooked him, and I think he got sent off in that game. But the last game we played against him, he was absolutely unbelievable. So, you know, salute to that. But even when I look at their bench people, yeah, he is one to watch for sure. And James, just James here saying here, he said we're nowhere near a Premier League team. I hope he keeps that same energy in the summer transfer window if we get promoted. When, James, when? But yeah, absolutely. I've already said it before. The 49ers will know there is work to do on this team, but we got to get there first. But in terms of their bench, and I'm going to show you as well, you know, in terms of my starting 11 and who would then fall to the bench for us. But I just feel that our bench, if we do get in a pickle, if we do need to, you know, change things up, we've got way better options off the bench. And that's where our squad depth is just brilliant. Even with the injuries that we keep on accumulating, we've got bodies back. And maybe Ampadu sees some minutes in this game. We shall see. But yeah, I mean, look at that. You know, Luke Ayling, Johnny Howson still going. I love Johnny back in the day, but and you know, fair play to him for still playing. But you know, these players, Matthew Clark, who must be about 37 now. Isaiah Jones is a decent threat. I mean, I'm being generous there. So that's what I'm saying. If we play to our strengths tomorrow night, we should get the win, right? We should get the win. Paul here saying Bogle doubtful, don't play in Byram and Verbal or Schmidt. Well, let's get into that, Paul. Absolutely brilliant segue. Because this would be my starting 11 tomorrow. Oh, you can't see the goalkeeper. Then again, it doesn't really matter who the goalkeeper is, in all fairness. But yeah, yeah, there's Meslier, and and just to another segue, I've already done a video today on Eli Meslier and his future because there is interest from League Earn in him and in the player. So if you want to, please, if you haven't seen that one, go back and watch that video, and I've given my full thoughts on what Leeds United should do in January. But yeah, Meslier, he got a clean sheet in the last one, so I'm I guess he'll start in this one, right? But yeah, for me, it's automatic, and like Paul said, Bogle doubtful. Learn from the FIRPO mistake. Don't risk him. Put Byron back in there. He's fit. He's ready to go. I would put Byron at right back, Verber at left back. It's automatic for me. And of course, Strauch and Roden are just immense. There was a stat that was going around today in terms of Strauch and Roden being the top 2 defenders of passing. I mean, that's I guess that's a decent stat, but it could also be why they got so much of the ball. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's natural that your centre backs do have more of the ball, especially in this day and age where every single manager feels like their team can build from the back. So there we are. That's why I go with the back 5 tomorrow. Midfield takes care of itself again until Ampadu is fit. Rothwell is going to stay hungry as well, by the way. I think he knows within himself that he's probably going to be the sacrificial lamb when it's time for Ampadu to come back in. But if he keeps on putting performances like he did against Derby, it's going to be hard to drop him. But that's what you want. That's what you want with your squad depth, which I've spoken about before. You want headaches like this. So for me, Rothwell stays in along with Tanaka, let them do their thing tomorrow, because I feel that we'll win that midfield battle against Middlesbrough midfield, personally, myself. And then the front 4. I've gone with this for tomorrow, people. I'm resting Aronson for tomorrow's game because, quite frankly, if you're not going to rest him for tomorrow's game, when are you going to rest him? I feel that he could do with the rest. I know that he came good for the second goal for us against Derby, but listen, I want to see Nanto in the 10, and I also want to see Ramazani and Nanto develop that partnership that they were having before Ramazani got hurt. I would love to see Ramazani down the left, Nanto at the 10, James on the right, and Joseph up front for me. Let's get Peru back on the bench. Let's see if Peru can do his, goals from the bench trick that he was doing near the start of the season. Let's give Joseph a start as well. And see how he fares in that one. Give him the service, which is always helpful. But I think Ramazani, if he's ready to start, he comes straight back in for me. And I think Solomon could probably do with a rotation in light of his injury history. So there we go. So what are we saying here, people? What are we saying? Scott Lyon is saying, KG, spot on. That's big of you, Scott. Thank you. Michael saying, Joseph, yes, please. Annabelle saying, yes, KG, if only. Gavin saying, good luck with that, KG. I got it. And Scott saying here, pace, skill, pressing. Absolutely. You've got a bit of everything in terms of the lineup there. Ramazani, Nanto, technical ability, able to take players out. James, pace, power, can also take players out, but will also just put that ball into the 6-yard box without thinking about it. Whereas, and Deshaun here, I know you're being funny here. KG wanting Aronson on rest for 2 months. It's not that. I've put Aronson in my starting lineups before, but it's quite evident he's been a little bit leggy and ineffective over the last few games in totality. But in terms of Dan James, he doesn't think about it, man. He'll just put that ball in the box. And we see our strikers, by the way, and again, mention that goal between Harrison Burrows and Tyrese Campbell for Sheffield United. Joseph does make the runs, people, but the thing is, they go unnoticed, they go unseen because he's not receiving the ball. So by the time he's made the run and got into position, and sometimes Brendan Aronson can be guilty of this, where he takes 2-3 touches before he releases the ball. But listen, Pat here saying that team smokes Middlesbrough. I hope so. And Gavin here, Nanto needs a performance. I agree with that, Gavin. I do agree with that wholeheartedly. But I do think that this will help. I think that the way this team, the way I've got them anyway, can help him, especially with Ramazani coming back, who will also help take players out. And you've seen it already. It doesn't matter where you put Ramazani, Nonto, James, or Solomon, whoever the mixes are, Aronson included, they all interchange throughout the game. So it's not like they're all just stuck in one position. They do move around. James will invert from the left at times, and Nonto will drift out to the right, etc. So there's just a lot of fluidity that we can do. And I do feel that this team gives Middlesbrough all kinds of problems tomorrow. You know what I mean? And listen, and James talking about the subs as well. Exactly. With my lineup by itself, you're then bringing on Solomon, Aronson off the bench, Peru off the bench. It's a decent problem to have. And if Schmidt, people talk about Schmidt, I need you guys to remember Schmidt. It was his birthday against Derby, people, and he didn't see 1 minute. No birthday minutes for Schmidt, but even he can be an asset used tomorrow night if Daniel Farke sees fit. So yeah, that's what I would go with. Listen, if there's any changes you would make, please put them in the comments below, or even if you agree, disagree, whatever you like. So yeah, so let's move on to score predictions. I think it's going to be a pretty tight game. I don't see this being a OK Corral shootout. I don't. I think it's going to be a pretty tight one. I think Middlesbrough will set up pretty well against us. I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory for Leeds United. 2-1 victory for Leeds United. And just on that, I mean, Michael Carrick was talking about the atmosphere and Middlesbrough having a sold-out allocation for tomorrow's game, you know, shock horror. But he was talking about how that helped him in the last game in the Cup. So even though Daniel Farke, you know, publicly isn't putting much credence into that result, seems like Michael Carrick is, and he's hoping that the Middlesbrough crowd can help spur them on in what will be, you know, pretty much a packed Ellen Road. Hyru saying 2-1 Leeds, Deshaun going 2-0, Gavin going 3-1. Yeah, so everyone's pretty, I would say everyone's pretty confident. Dave here saying we need to take our chances. We absolutely do, Dave. We need to be more efficient up front. Well, not up front, but just from the chances that we get. Absolutely do. And we've got the talent to do so, man. So it is frustrating on that front that we don't, you know, convert more chances. James going for a 4-2 Leeds. That would be a decent game. Annabelle saying 2-0 Leeds. Lewis is going for a 2-2 draw. Hank is saying, I don't hate Nonto at the 9. Yeah, I listen. We've seen Nonto play that before in the Premier League, more so. But yeah, if Nonto was to play as a striker, joint striker, I wouldn't want him up there by himself. So in that case, if you was moving Nonto up front, that means you're probably putting Peru behind, or maybe bringing Aronson back in, Solomon in the 10. There's options. There are options. That's the thing. There's so many options that you can do with this squad. It doesn't always have to be so set and forget every week. You know what I mean? Hank is going 3-2 Leeds. Jack is saying 2-1 Boro. Melier will be called upon in this game and he'll let everyone down. Allison going 1-1. Okay. And Martin here saying it will be Aronson, Peru, and Solomon again. We shall see, Martin. We shall see. You're probably not wrong. You're probably not wrong. But anyway, like I say, this is just what I would do regardless. Speaking of which, just something I've spoken about before, because we are going up against them, and you never know. It could be one of those things where Middlesbrough can have one eye on this. We've seen it before, but you know, a lot's riding on tonight's result in terms of Wolves versus West Ham. I'm going to be watching that game. You know, you got two managers, and what is the psyche going into that, where both managers are basically thinking, if I lose this game, I'm sacked. And it just goes into my perception and reality thing again. And I know Michael Carrick started at West Ham, but there's plenty of players that have retired from West Ham that don't get linked to the jobs. But, you know, West Ham are eyeing Michael Carrick as a potential replacement for Lopetegui at West Ham. So that's then yet again, just saying with what I was talking about before about Farke not being linked with any jobs. Michael Carrick's being linked with West Ham, and they will have to pay a compensation fee because he only signed a new contract this summer. So, yeah, there we are again in terms of that. Does that play on the Middlesbrough players' minds as well, that their manager could potentially be going? We shall see. But you know what? Let's put it all in our hands, use our quality, use our Ellen Road, where we usually cash money, and get the win tomorrow. Let's do it. Pops is saying, I think Carrick is capable of managing the Prem. I do too, Pops, more so than someone like Russell Martin, just purely on the basis of the way that he plays football. He can attack, but Michael Carrick, as I've seen before, can change it to where he needs to be defensive. Whereas Russell Martin, yet again, by the way, has been saying, I'm not changing the way I play. So, as I always say, though, you reap what you sow as a coach, and you die on whatever sword that you're on. But I do think Michael Carrick has got the potential to manage in the Prem. Will it be a success? Only the opportunity and the time will tell. But yeah, I do understand what you're saying. Yeah, Lewis saying nobody I'm Farker. Yeah, I do. I think it will be. It's a conversation, isn't it? He's never been linked with anyone while he's been here, and the thing is, his numbers are really good. LUFC data keeps putting them up. When we go 1-0 ahead, we've won, say 33 out of 36 games. You know what I mean? He's got good numbers, but for whatever reason, he doesn't get linked with other posts higher up. But yeah, that's it for the game. Let me just see. Oh, no. Let me just say this as well. The fixtures, other fixtures, because obviously we need to look out for these. Burnley, I think they're going to take care of Derby at home. I think that's pretty obvious with the way that it's going for Paul Warne at Derby. But that's a tough one here tomorrow, for Wednesday, I should say, for Sheffield United away at Millwall. So hopefully Millwall can do a little something against Sheffield United, much like West Brom did. I actually fell asleep halfway through the West Brom Sheffield United game. I did wake up in time for Tottenham Chelsea, which was the main thing for me. But yeah, hopefully Sheffield United have a tough away game against Millwall, and we can, get back to this top spot, man. That would be nice. You know what I mean? If Burnley, I do feel Burnley will beat Derby, but we need to keep on winning anyway. We need to continue that 4 wins in 5. Great. Let's get that all green. Let's go on another heavy run of wins, and that will, propel us to the top and make us not look back, and will alter our January transfer business as well. But yeah, Andy here. Could the Carrick news have the Rutter effect on them? I don't know, man. I think that might just be something for us. Not gonna lie. But yeah, there we are. So there we are in terms of the next games. Hopefully, it's a good game week. And listen, it's crazy, isn't it? We're almost after tomorrow's game. We're going to be 20 games gone. This season is absolutely flying by. But I do like how things are getting, hot and heavy in terms of games, no more international breaks. I do prefer this time of the season. I do. And it's festive as well. As you can see behind me, I got the naughty elves up there. As you can see, how did they get up there? Huh? How did they get up there? I've been good. I've been good. But listen, people, I will be back after the game tomorrow. So please join me tomorrow after the game, and we'll go through all the talking points of the result tomorrow. Hit the like before you go. Drop your comments, score predictions, preferred lineups for tomorrow. Check out the Eli Melia video I did earlier as well if you haven't already. It's worth watching as well. But yeah, that's it, people. I will see you tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Peace out.